A warm welcome from us here at the floor of the National Results Center. The results keep trickling in, of course, and we're hoping that at some point during the course of the evening we will get yet another briefing from the Independent Electoral Commission about where things are. They do, of course, remain committed to ensuring that they do fast-track processes to ensure that we get those results as soon as possible. From this floor, of course, is where political parties during the course of this afternoon have been addressing journalists, talking about how they feel from the results that have come through so far. And a person who's been parked here for the course of the afternoon is, of course, our political editor, Mzwandile Mbeje. And we're going to take you through some of the things that the political parties said as they got the first opportunity to speak to journalists on the back of very real and concrete results that give most of us perhaps the clearest sense of how the results are going to be when every ward and every ballot paper has actually been counted. Mzwandile, I'm going to start with the ANC that addressed journalists here, and you were part of that conversation. Humbled, but still maintaining the posture, putting up a brave face, as people would say, that yes, we may have lost and we understand, but you know what? People still have a great deal of confidence in us as people who can actually guide them into the future.
Well, fortunately for you, you understand very well politics and the nature of politics and politicians. Sometimes certain things, they would say it in different ways. The fact of the matter is that if you look at that leaderboard that you've just spoken about now, the governing party is below 50. And you and I know very well, to form a government, you need 50 plus 1. Of course, we know these are local government elections, so it's a different ballgame altogether. But if these were national elections, I still maintain if these were national elections, so they would be out of power. But of course, that's a debate for another day. This is what perhaps they've been saying, to say, well, we understand we've not been doing well, but we still remain the majority party. That is very fair. Yes, they still are the majority party. But here is the question for you. So what happened? Because we've been seeing the decline throughout. And then here we are now. We are even below 50. What is it that they have not done right to make sure that they stay up or they even go up? So yes, they are saying, well, there are certain things we could have done better. We are going to go back and correct them. In fact, saying on Friday, I hope they will be able to give us that briefing, saying on Friday they will be able to come back to us and give us a clearer picture as to what actually transpired.
And I'm hoping that we are going to be able to play a clip from Jesse Duarte during the course of that briefing. But of course, on Friday, they will be considering, there will be a reflection from what they have told us, and they will also, by then, they've tasked a committee of experts, members of the NEC, and a whole range of other people to actually look at what is going to be their response, in particular around your hung councils. Now, what was interesting for me is that they are not ruling out any possibility of talking to anyone. However, they said they are not going to speak to people who are not keen to speak to them. Now, you were here when Herman Mashaba, the leader of Action SA, expressed reservations about speaking to the ANC, and they've been consistent in that they did say that even yesterday, that they believe that the mandate they got from their people was, or included at the very least, dislodging the ANC, a sentiment that was also expressed by the EFF here on this floor. So it's going to be interesting, really, what the ANC's approach then is going to be.
I think that's why coalition politics is such an interesting phenomenon, because they went to the elections, Vuyo, to tell us what is it that they are going to do. So a certain section of population believed a certain number of political parties. But here is the thing. You go and say, I believe in blackness and blackness alone. And then people say, no, sure. A good number of people say, no, we are with you. We go blackness. And then my people say, I actually believe in whiteness. And then you look at that, and then you find we are 50-50. So what do we do? In essence, we are being forced to work together. Yes, parties have their own principles that they follow, but the fact of the matter is that South Africans, yes, some have rejected the ANC, that's true, but the majority, in terms of those who voted, still are preferring the ANC. From the opposition point of view, it's a rejection of the ANC. But from other people, I mean, they are just below 50%. That's still a sizable number. Yes, we are saying in terms of forming a government, so they are not able to. But the fact of the matter is that if you look at the parties individually, they are still the most trusted party. So do you then reject those simply because you've taken a particular stance? You are actually being forced to speak with them. At some point, Vuyo, you will see very interesting discussions and coalitions that will take place.
Well, broadly speaking, can we say that the two biggest parties seem to be getting it, or at least from their opening statements today, when reality dawned on them that not much is going to change from what we are seeing on that board? Because, and I'm saying this on the back of John Steenhuisen, who spoke before the ANC here on this floor, said he's not ruling out any, a coalition with anyone, except it would seem the EFF, but saying they are prepared to speak to the ANC if that is what is going to take to bring stability to those areas where we've seen volatility over the past 5 years.
In fact, I think, of course, they are not going to say this publicly. In fact, I get a sense that the DA would rather go with the ANC. Of course, they can't say it publicly because it may reflect perhaps bad on them. So they would rather have a situation where they would say, we were forced by circumstances because we wanted to form a government and stop instability. You remember some of those those clips that leaked just before elections, where the chairperson of the council of the DA, Helen Mzwandile, basically said it would be preferable to work with the ANC. So,
and John Steenhuisen said as much in a couple of interviews that we did from him. Now, in interest from,
I remember that very well.
There was something Jesse Duarte, I think it was, added during that media briefing, that they are looking at all forms of coalition, including, she said, transactional coalitions, where it says we can agree that you'll support us on a budget, and then we can do something, deliver very specific things in your constituency if that is what the other coalition partner demands, which suggests, to me, that they have now had time to reflect more broadly on a coalition, something they were reluctant to do at the beginning, and virtually everything is in fact on the table.
Oh yes. And I was just thinking that perhaps ideologically it should be very easier for the DA to work with Herman Mashaba. But here is the thing.
But aren't politicians being disingenuous here? Is it about ideology? Fact of the matter is that the very principles they're talking about, they have thrown them out of the window, which is why people have rebelled against them. I think it's just putting up a brave face and a posture that says, I'm being driven by principles, and these things are important to me. And I suppose, that's important for your constituency, so they don't say you've sold out, isn't it?
Exactly. In fact, the point I want to make, Vuyo, is the issue around Mashaba himself. Remember, is he wants to be the mayor or nothing else. And the DA is clear. If it were to work with the Action SA, not Mashaba to be the mayor. So I'm saying, ideologically, in inverted commas, they're supposed to be able to work together. But given the personalities involved, I think that's the reason why they may end up going with the DA, or rather the ANC. So it would be very interesting.
But I think Jesse Duarte also gave it away.
Yeah.
She said that people they are moving from a position, right, that says that what is a universally accepted principle of the biggest political party in whatever coalition being given the right to form the government first, which by extension, or at least from what she said, suggested to me that they would then still insist on being mayor and then see how they can sort out the other parties that follow them.
But there's also something very interesting in terms of this coalition. Having spoken, you'd remember, we spoke to almost all leaders of the opposition parties. And then, for example, this is the stance of the EFF. It's willing to give, let's say, the ANC its votes to form government, but they want a trade-off. You give us Joburg, we take Tshwane.
Which Jesse Duarte said, said anything and everything is on the table. Whether, of course, they will agree to such arrangements is a completely different story. And that's where we're going to leave it for now.